Hello and welcome to Here's a Thought, a podcast made by teens for teens.
Everything that was discussed in this podcast has been reported to the proper authorities.
Okay, so we're going to have a trigger warning because in this podcast will be mental and emotional abuse. So just in case this will trigger you or make you upset or anything, we don't want that to happen. So if you have any worries, any problems, just please stop. You don't need to watch this.
Yeah.
As long as you're comfortable to watch this, then go ahead.
Right, some quick introductions. I am Ash.
I'm Tia.
I'm Charlotte.
And I'm Ace.
So in today's episode, it won't be kind of more anecdotal compared to our last episodes. It'll be more looking out for signs, personal experiences, and kind of
A lot more formal.
Yeah, a lot more formal than our last few episodes. Talking a lot more of what different kinds of abuse mean and what they're seen as, just so people can be aware, because I know a lot of people don't tend to class certain types of things they've gone through as abuse. So what should we start with? Because we've got 3 different types that we're discussing today, haven't we?
It's up to you.
So what have we got for this one?
Current patient we're looking at is mental and emotional.
And emotional. I think we should start with emotional, because it can be quite a...
That one's
tricky.
Yeah.
It's quite tricky, because a lot of people, especially teenagers, I've noticed, really struggle with emotional abuse from friendship groups, a lot of like family, close-knit family.
Yeah.
Growing up, you can't even realise it half the time. Because emotional abuse has it has a lot of, I can't say the word, specifics, there we go, to it. Because it's a lesser known kind of abuse, because when you think of abuse, you mostly think of physical. But if anything, emotional and mental can have a similar toll on you, like, because obviously damaging your your ability to emote, have sympathy and empathy can really be impeded by things like that.
Yeah.
I also think that with emotional abuse, it's very hard to identify because of the fact, as you said, that it is with mainly families and friends. So because it's closer to, it's more normalized. So then it's very hard to identify whether this is just them being mean or whether it's emotional abuse.
You think it's either banter.
Which is what people have
People
classed
class it as banter,
that.
and then they'll grow up to get to about our age, 17, 18, and go, oh, that really wasn't that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the main thing that you find, especially with me, because I have a sibling, we're twins.
Yeah.
It's the comparison.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
I got 2 younger brothers.
I've got a younger sister.
yeah, it's the comparison between, so your younger sister will be compared to you.
Yeah.
Now, that might be good
Thing
or
i-
bad, saying you should be more like you or you should be less like you.
I have a lot of problems with mental and physical health, whereas my sister wasn't. So I was born 2 weeks early, severely underweight. I had colic. I had all this wrong with me. My sister was born bang on time, bang on weight, bang on size, and she would they got to go home a week late, not even a week later, and I had to go stay there for a month. So from the get-go, Chloe was always a bit, I wouldn't say favoured, but I'd say she was a lot easier to handle compared to me.
Yeah.
But I suppose you can always, I think in any types of family dynamic, regardless you've got 1 or 6 siblings, you always get compared. Whether you're the oldest or the youngest, you don't even notice. Like, for all of my life, even though I'm only 3 years older than my sister, it would always be a back and forth. It would either, my mum would go, why can't you get good grades like Ash? And I'm like, what good grades? Or she'd be like, why can't you have like these, like my dad especially is like, why don't you have like the same emotional, oh my God, I can't speak English, stability as your younger sister? Because obviously I have quite high anxiety, I have like all my life. And like my sister doesn't worry about anything. Like she had her SATs, I know they're not that big, in year 6. I used to cry over them. My sister, I say, oh, haven't you got your SATs tomorrow? She's like, yeah. And she was like, do I? I was like, you have your SATs tomorrow? She's like, oh, I have my SATs tomorrow. And I was like, how are you not crying? Like, I was really shocked. But when it comes to that, I've always been, I didn't even notice things like that. I always used to think with my dad, it was banter. I used to think it was like that eldest child dad sort of relationship. And then I talked to my mates and I'm like, that's not the same thing. But yeah, that's what got me growing up, especially hitting 16 and 17 when I got access to learning about what the different kinds of abuse was. Because at first, like many, I only thought it was physical. I didn't think there was any other kind. And then I learned what had happened to me in my past, and I was like, wow, I really didn't have a regular childhood. Like, being blunt, I don't remember 13 backwards.
No.
I really don't. That might just be me having a bad memory. But most other people remember things from like year 3 and year 4, and I'm like, no.
Yeah, and I'm just like, I mean, maybe something close to that at some point.
I think 10 and backwards is for me. I can remember, which is sad really. I remember most of the bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're easy
The
to
bad
remember.
things stick around a lot longer than the good things do.
They're more potent.
Yeah. But the thing is a lot of people don't realise how deadly mental and emotional abuse can be. In some, I read a article recently that the statistics for people taking their lives based on emotional and mental abuse are higher than physical abuse. They're on the same level. I'm not going to say physical abuse isn't a bad thing. It's an absolutely terrible thing. But it's weird to think about.
Yeah, mental and emotional abuse, it's less addressed because it's less obvious.
Oh, yeah.
And it's like...
It's not as noticeable as when it comes to physical.
People also don't understand that, I mean, them saying that on a regular basis, that makes me feel so bad.
Yeah.
And, like, it's bringing my mood down. I feel awful about myself. Not realising that that's an abusive behaviour.
Yeah.
And then blaming themselves for it and thinking that they've done something wrong to cause that.
Can we talk about the fact with mental and emotional abuse, victim blaming becomes a huge thing?
Yeah.
Especially with your abuser, what will happen is you'll confront them and then they'll play the victim saying, oh, it was so hard for me for you growing up with all this, that and the other. Like when I got diagnosed with a lot growing up, autism, ADHD, anxiety and depression. And my dad would always be like, it was so hard on you growing up, getting your autism diagnosis. Like, you for the first month, you thought I was lying about my diagnosis. And he only uses it when it suits him, which is the funny thing. So, like, it'll come to sudden change and he'll go to my mum, but Ash doesn't like that. And I'm like, but you told me I was lying about it a month ago.
Yeah.
But I hate victim blaming because I see it a lot. And it's the one thing that I wish could just stop.
Well, there are a lot of things that we all wish
could stop.
Yeah.
Yeah. So is there anything else, I suppose, because it's quite a difficult subject to talk about?
I think the main thing with emotional and emotional abuse is just to identify it. Like, how could somebody identify it if they were going through it?
That's where I think the it's what we can talk about, because sometimes people can act. That's the thing with physical and mental. Physical is like there; it can be
so
seen.
Easy to
it's so
identify. Whereas mental and emotional, it's trying to get that response from you.
Because
whether it's you to get angry and lash out, or get sad, or feel bad about yourself.
And another thing that's
try and change yourself and manipulate you into that by going, you should be more like this, you should do that. You're not good enough because you're not doing this, which then makes you think you're not good enough. And then you try and conform to what they want. Yeah.
And then you get this false insecurity of like dependence.
Yeah.
Which
you become dependent on them.
Yeah, you almost it's gonna sound bad the way I say it, but it's you almost live for their approval, if that makes sense.
No, that's something that I've noticed is that whenever I want to do something independent, like I talk about, I know I'm not going to move out for a while, but I talk about moving out the house. I talk about getting myself a motorbike. Obviously, I'm getting myself a better job. And my dad's always like, but we want you here. You don't want to be doing that yet. You're so young. And I'm like, I am 18 next year.
Yeah.
Like I'm not going to move out until I'm comfortable. My mum does not want me moving out until I've got the money to live somewhere decent.
Yeah.
But from the get-go, I've wanted to move out for a long, long time.
Yeah, same here.
Because I've noticed masking, not just in people who are autistic, but when it comes to mental and emotional abuse, it won't always be obvious from the get-go that people can be really good at masking, pretending nothing's wrong. I did that for the first few years of finding out. I didn't tell anyone. I was too scared. Because I was like, they're going to go to my dad, and my dad's going to start yelling at me. I was scared that I was going to be, like, I thought I was making things up. I thought I was being dramatic for a long, long time because he was victim blaming me. So, and then I was like, well, why do I have to live for his approval? There's no point. Because he never sought out mine. Because he's the kind of guy that's always preaches that respect is deserved when it comes to your children.
Oh yeah, the hierarchy of I'm the parent, you're my
your
child.
Answer to me. I'm like, I get it, you're my dad.
But you can be wrong.
But you can be wrong. Doesn't mean you've got any, like, you're my dad. What hierarchy do you have over me in the real world? Like, when you really think about it.
We're all humans.
We're all humans. We're on the same level. You're no better than I am. I'm no better than you. Yeah. I didn't learn that till recently because I grew up in the idea that your parents are basically like I know they run the household, but when I was growing up with my younger sister, you only answered to them.
Yes.
You answered to nobody else. You didn't even answer to your other family members. It was them you saw everything from.
Yeah.
Everything.
It's like one time I was my nan was around and I couldn't find my parents, and I'd asked my nan because I'd always been taught to ask an adult for everything.
Yeah.
And I'd asked my nan if I could have a glass of. That was how bad it was.
Glass of water.
For a glass of water, I had to ask.
I still do. I still get in the habit of doing it.
Even at college, where the teachers have physically told me, yeah, if you need to do something, you can just go. And I'm like, but I still need to ask.
Yeah, I need to
ask an adult.
Go get a
But,
drink.
yeah.
Go to the toilet.
Yeah, everything. And then like one day it came along, and my parents were like, "Who said you could have that?" And I'm just like,
because you're told.
My nan.
Yeah, you're told by one adult. You don't need to. Like my nan would go, "You don't need to ask me. Why are you asking me?"
Yeah, she
my
told me that
mum's
like a
mum.
few weeks ago.
My mum's mum would be like, "Well, you don't need to ask me. It's your house. Go get a drink of water, love." And then I'd come or like a drink of like fizzy or something like that. And then I'd come into the living room. My parents come in. Like, "Who said you could have that?" I was like, "Nan did."
Yeah.
Because you realise, you forget that you used to only answer to them when you're like, "This is my nan.
Yeah.
Like, this is another family member," but I'm even not allowed to answer to them because my parent, more my dad, my mum really let me, because obviously I lived there. Like, she didn't mind, but my dad was like, "Who said you could have that?" And I'm like, Mum did, or Nan did, because my nan used to be over a lot. But it was really weird because I look back on all those years in like when I was in like from like 13 to late to like near enough 16, and I was like, I let that happen. I sat back and let that happen because I had no idea what it was.
Yeah, why am I still asking to go and get water?
Why am I asking to go to the loo in my own household? I live there.
And I feel like that's really why like we need to bring attention to this. It's like a proper form of abuse, and it's a very valid form of abuse. So you need to, like, people need help in identifying this because they need help in like stopping it. For example, like this is like obviously caused a lot of problems, and like they need help. And so like, how do you think that we could help? Or like, how do you think people could find help or like get some emotional help?
I mean, I know that you don't really want to outright ask because that can be a very sensitive topic. But I think definitely doing a lot of research, loads and loads of research on, because I know there isn't just a set guideline of what the signs look like. Because it depends on the person. Yeah. It's very specific on the person. Changes in behaviour, changes in personality. If they were loud and talkative, have they gone all quiet? Have they stopped interacting? Are they reclused? Are they not leaving the house as much? If they were extroverted, are they now introverted? I think looking for switches in behaviour, temper and personality. Because I know that a lot of the time, people who are struggling with things that they don't want to talk about, they'll become recluse. They'll become more snappy and quick-tempered. Like, you just have to look out for major personality changes because that can tend to be a key sign of something going on behind the scenes.
And then this is also when masking
masking comes in.
Masking comes in because I sort of, before I came to terms with everything, and had really, really good friends that I could actually talk to and like say how I feel. That took a while. Yeah. Because another thing with emotional abuse is you can try and say how you're feeling, but whether they'll put that down. I had an argument with my mother a while ago, and she was basically like, "Yeah, well, I feel the same thing," and I'm like, "But you don't.
You don't.
You just feel sad because you're not getting what you want now."
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing is, it's a lot of like, same with victim blaming, it's a lot of guilt blaming, if that's the
guilt
right
tripping,
term.
yeah.
Guilt tripping, that's it. I remember I had an argument with my dad over not closing the door when my girlfriend was around. I'm asexual. I don't like sexual intercourse. Don't know what I was going to do with her. Sit and watch anime. And we were arguing about something really stupid. Like, it was a really stupid argument. I didn't even want to get involved. He started it. I was literally just standing there for the whole time going, "You done? Okay, and then he ended up going, "How do you think this makes me feel? You're my eldest daughter." And I'm like, "Hold on, not your daughter." It's like, "Yeah, you are."
Your child.
"I'm not. I'm your child." It's like, "No, you're my daughter." I'm like, "I am your child. I am your eldest child. I don't care that you're being hissy because you've got a tattoo of my old name on your arm. You can cover that up. That's why you don't get names tattooed." It's just a stupid idea. Sorry for anyone who's got names tattooed. I didn't mean it that way. But yeah, and he just kept saying, "How do you think I feel? Do you not think I feel the same way? Look at what you've done." And I'm like, "What have I done? You've done this. I've not done nothing. I was born. That's all I've done.
We didn't choose.
We didn't choose. We didn't ask to be here. According to my parents, I was a surprise. I was a
I was
surprise.
an accident.
They like to be nice and say I was a surprise, but I know what they mean.
I like to assume when my mother says I was planned, I love to assume that there are air quotations over that.
Yeah, my sister was planned. I was a surprise.
Yes. The miracle baby.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, the arguments are a big thing though. My mum had COVID, and she had an argument with me, her boyfriend. I can't remember if she had an argument with my brother as well. But it was like she's asking me if, like, I'm telling her how I feel because she's like, she spent 3 hours slagging me off to someone on the phone.
Were you there?
So she's in her bedroom and we're going up and down.
You're in the same house?
Yeah, we're in the same house and we're going up and down stairs.
She's
to the
slagging
toilet,
her own
getting
kid off in the same house.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? And like we're cooking, we're cleaning, we're providing.
You're being
for
a parent.
Her. Yeah, because she's got COVID and she spent 3 hours slagging us off. So we had this huge argument.
Yeah, she's got COVID. Doesn't mean she's allowed to slag her child off and not in her face.
She's like, well, do you hate me then? Like trying to make it seem like it was my fault.
Oh my God, the guilt tripping is what
like,
gets me.
But you were slagging me off. And then after she had it, she was like, oh, I was delusional. I don't remember. That's nice. Yeah. I remember. Screw you.
Yeah, and another sign of it is excessive apologies.
Yeah.
So if, say, someone thinks they've said something wrong, extensive, not like a quick sorry, like a proper, like, oh my God, I'm like a proper, oh my God, I'm so sorry, I really didn't mean that,
like
I hope it didn't
like
offend you.
Small things.
Even tiny little things like dropping something, they're like, oh my, like they freak out. And it's a really horrible thing to witness. It's a really horrible thing. Like I noticed it in my aunt before she divorced my old uncle, don't know really what to call, my ex-uncle. And I was literally, as like a 12-year-old, I was like, you need to get rid of him. Like my mum taught me about this, like you need to get rid of him. Like I met him twice, both times he was drunk. And mind you, they have 2 kids. And I was like, you need to get rid of him. I was 12 and I was going up to my aunt, like my mum's oldest sister, and going, get rid of him.
Yeah.
I think like the excessive apologies it's really upsetting to see because like it's just somebody that you could have just met them or you've known them for a while and like suddenly they just
switch.
Yeah. And then like they just, like even just like if they touch you out of turn or if they like breathe in the wrong direction, they'll apologize, and it's like they don't need to do that. So obviously, like something's happened.
It's heartbreaking to witness. It's absolutely heartbreaking.
Yeah, so we've seen someone broken down to the point that they're like sorry for even moving,
existing, just sitting in the same room as you half the time. That's what hurts.
Like being friends with like so sort of, I think one of the good sort of, and it's not good at all really, but like we've all gone through something which somewhat brings us closer with each other.
Yeah.
Which creates like some of the friendships that I've had with all of my mates are some of the strongest I've ever seen since I was like young. And we all talk every time. I remember this one time, one of my mates absolutely buzzing everything. It was his birthday. He was partying. We was all having fun. I've never seen him happier. And he accidentally bumped into me. And all that happiness just went.
Yeah.
Just gone. And I just...
It hurts. It's physically painful to see someone change like that.
It is really, really harmful to see.
Especially when you see someone, like you said, you've known for like years and years and years, and then you see this sudden change. Like say they used to be super, like they used to tell really good jokes, like stupid puns, or they used to be really like outgoing and extroverted. And then
just nothing.
Everything's gone, and you don't see them anymore, and they're quiet. It hurts. Because you're like, where have you gone? Where is my best friend gone? Like, what happened? And it hurts to have to ask because I know that half the time they don't want to tell me, and I respect that because they want to deal with it on their own like an adult. They don't want, half the time they don't want someone to hold their hand. And
then that's another thing. That's how we've been brought up.
Yeah.
To deal with it on your own because we've got not even...
No adult to hold your hand.
If you've grown up with your parents not even caring.
No support system.
No adult to hold your hand while you do things, no.
I think it was at the age of 6 that I learnt to cook. Properly cook.
I learnt how to get dressed and tie my shoes by the time I was 4 because my mum would work full time. My dad wouldn't be asked.
I had to learn to tie my shoes.
Yeah, I had to learn how to do it by the age of like 4 or 5 because my mum worked full time. My dad couldn't be bothered because the football was on.
Yeah, tie my shoes, tie. My lower school, even reception kids had to wear a tie. So I had to tie my own shoes, tie a tie, get myself
pack my
dressed,
lunch, get myself, age like 5 or 6, Because my mum was working full time and couldn't take me, and my dad couldn't drive and couldn't be bothered to call anyone to come get me. I'd literally go into school, 6-year-old, little backpack, dressed for go to primary school, like the first years of primary school, was like, see ya.
Yeah, no. I don't know if it was me or if anyone else has had it, but another thing that I had to go through was if I didn't eat all of my lunch at school,
you didn't get any.
That was my dinner.
That was your dinner.
Or that would get thrown in the bin.
And you wouldn't have anything.
And I'd either have nothing or I'd have toast. Without butter.
Thing is I used to pack my own lunch when my mum wasn't at work. When she was, I used to eat all my lunch. But because I was 6, I wasn't allowed to use a knife, couldn't reach anything in the fridge, couldn't reach anything on top of the counters because I was a 6-year-old. It'd just be whatever I could reach, which would be like some fruit.
Yeah.
Like a little fruit tube, like something like that. And I'd go to school and my teachers would be like, has mum not packed you anything? I'm like, no, I packed it myself. Did mummy not do it? No, mummy was at work. And they're like, did daddy not do it? And I'm like, no. And like it got to the point where my primary school literally rang home and was like, what's going on? Like your kid's coming in with like 3 things. And half the time if I didn't eat it, I'd go home and I would be scared to like hear me throwing stuff away. Like even to this day, I feel really guilty. And
for throwing food away.
For throwing food in the bin. I try to make it as quiet as possible. So just scrape food into the bin because I know that if my dad hears that I'm wasting food, that's it. That's the end of it. All right, so I think we've touched on bases for this one. Start wrapping up. So, yeah, I suppose we should start wrapping up. I am Ash.
I'm Tia.
I'm Charlotte.
I'm Ace.
Thank you so much for listening. See you guys later.